Hey there, hi there, ho there, hello there, and welcome back to another exciting edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast, where we discuss the joy and excitement of U of L women's athletics. Today we have several exciting things to discuss. We have a crew of three today on the podcast. Jared is out taking photos at softball for the Cards. Case, I didn't see a reason why Case couldn't be with us today. But he will not be with us. But we have a strong threesome here with Jeff and Daryl and myself. So, as we like to do, kind of get to catch up with what we've been doing this week with each other. And we'll ask Daryl, how's your week been so far?
Not so bad. Nice to see the sun come out and get some warmer temperatures. Spring is near, but I feel like it's just that false spring right now, and we're just being tricked. So, trying to enjoy it while we can, get out and walk around the neighborhood and get some vitamin D. It's been not too bad of a week.
Good deal for you. Yes, indeed. It is nice to have the warmer temperatures with us, I think. Uh, I'm not ready to see any more snow this year. I hope it's done, but
Mm.
sometimes,
Appreciate you,
unfortunately,
brother.
As
yeah.
soon as you put those snow boots away and the shovel, you just know.
Yeah, it never fails when you go to bed. And as I used to like to tease the old weatherman Tom Wills. Uh, Tom, I woke up with 6 inches of partly cloudy on my front porch this morning. So, yeah. Anyway,
No, I gotta, I gotta stand up for Tom Wells. He's a great U of L volleyball fan.
yeah. You have told me before that he
Yeah,
sits fairly near you
great
with
man.
season
Sits
tickets
near
and
me
stuff.
at LNN, yeah, and he's there very, very faithfully.
I'm glad that he is enjoying his retirement, supporting U of L athletics. Happy for him.
Yeah,
And I did used to, I won't say religiously, but regularly watch his weather forecasts. And it was just the 6 inches of partly cloudy got to me. But anyway, what's going on in your world, Jeff?
a little bit hobbled. I had gone down to Ulmer Stadium yesterday to watch softball, watch the first game, watched a good Cardinal victory. We'll talk about that in a little bit. As the next game started, which was not involving low ball, it's one of the round robin things they do. Decided I would walk across the street, across Floyd Street, over to Starbucks, and get me a little bit of caffeine to help get through the innings, and strained my calf. So got back, decided took some Tylenol, but decided to hobble my way to my car and then home and deal with that and watch the second game online a little bit. So a little bit hobbled. It's not too bad, but not a great you know thing to happen on a Saturday afternoon. The softball was great, but yeah.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, we'll get into the softball successes here in just a bit. But golly, was it just a wrong step you took, or were you in a hurry to cross the street, or?
No, there was no hurry. It was I guess I was a little bit of a weird step, and I felt it start, and I managed to get off of it. So I don't think it could have been a whole lot worse if I had not been able to get off of that leg. Um, kind of bounced back up over to my other leg, but yeah, I think it could have been a lot worse, but just a little bit of a weird step, I guess. I've had that happen on this calf before a number of years ago, but it was a much more severe one. So this isn't too bad. I'll be all right.
So I guess the obvious pun is here. Did you walk into Starbucks and point to your leg and go, decaf, decaf? So you,
Jeff would never decaf.
I am a huge fan of puns and word games. So yeah, I might do that.
I agree with you 100% though, Daryl. I cannot decaf either. Uh,
No,
there was a time that,
there's a whole cup of why bother.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like, smells like coffee. Not the kick. Uh, I have tried in the past to get rid of some caffeine producing products. I no longer drink soft drinks, except for the occasional Sprite or 7 Up, but don't drink any of the dark colas anymore.
Yeah, nor do I. Yeah,
But I still love my coffee in the morning, and will never switch. I think to decaf or Sanka or anything like that. But all right, as for me, an uneventful kind of week, just kind of going through the routines of what I do on a daily and other day basis, and been very excited about watching the softball team.
ah,
Who has shown a very very good aspect for putting up runs lately. If you kind of take a look back at their last 3 games, 10, 8, and 8. And I mean, that's offense to share.
yeah,
Indeed.
indeed.
So, but, and we'll get into it a little bit later on, but, we're Bellarmine, okay, yeah, it's a crosstown rival, and we usually expect to win that one. I'm not really sure how strong Central Michigan and Longwood are as far as Division One softball opponents, but certainly when you hit the ball successfully, it doesn't matter what's going on there. It's a very simple game. You score the most runs, you hit the ball and get on base, and Louisville has been doing that quite well lately. But other than that, that's about all in my case. Is we kind of take a look at some of the things that are going on around us a little bit. I kind of hope that we're in for a good weather's day because certainly we've seen softball played at times where it's you have to wear gloves and a toboggan out there. Okay, yeah. We don't want that for our players. We want to see
Mm,
them do well.
that's not fun. Yeah,
I just hope.
so far the weather has been really nice. It's great, windy night. Um, Yesterday was a pleasant, little cooler, but pleasant, still very pleasant.
Very windy. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, it was definitely, there was a stiff wind blowing out the left field. Had a couple of home runs that I think would not have been home runs had that not been so much such a stiff breeze there.
And Ulmer normally is kind of, I will say, not protected, but kind of down. When you have, it's kind of indented into the landscape there. You've got I-65, which is a raised facility that runs along the right field line out towards center field, and kind of, I would think maybe creates somewhat of a buffer for winds that possibly might be coming down from the north or from
From
the
the east.
east.
Yeah, which is
But
not a particularly prevailing direction, but you also have the Student Activity Center to the west side across Floyd Street, which I think probably blocks a little bit from that direction.
You
But
know what
to
I
the
was?
south,
I'm
man,
picturing, guys, because that roundabout's there too. I'm just picturing like a tornado, perfect like storm for a tornado to form, just because of all the the movement
yeah,
in there.
yeah, north south direction. There's not a whole lot. First build's got a little bit, but you're coming from the south like it was yesterday out to left field. You're coming across Cardinal Park, which is
yeah,
fairly open. So
and that's true. That direction would prevail winds, I think. But
yep.
certainly, have we had any broken windshields out there yet? I know with
No,
long.
fortunately, there's no real parking on Brandeis or Floyd, which is where most of the balls seem to get out into the street. Uh, there is parking now on Arthur Street, by the way, which is interesting. That's new. But mostly the balls don't get up there. They usually hit on the berm before they get up there, so not too much danger there. And then from the off the first base line is Cardinal Park, so nothing over there.
The Cards have been. Well, let's just go ahead and talk about it a little bit. The softball squad uh, playing yesterday and facing a Central Michigan foe that we really, I guess, don't know a whole lot about. Uh, a game where Louisville obviously, just kind of dominated the first game, uh, 8-1. Uh, a contest where uh, I think the run impressive, yes. All those runs scored are impressive, yes, but have to be very, very pleased right now, guys and gals, that our pitching that's in held had held opponents in two games to a mere one run,
Mhm.
and that to me kind of speaks out there a little bit when you take a look at what we're getting out of obviously Sambu, Alyssa Zabala, even to a certain extent. Rebecca Grays is hanging in there and doing quite well. Just these cards seem to be really, really deep in the pitching rotation this year. Thoughts on that, gang?
Yeah, but the staff is huge as far as just sheer number of pitchers on the staff. Excuse me. We've got several that are quite good, obviously, and then the ones you mentioned, Melissa Zavala, Brooke Gray, Sambu are all quite good. Izzy Harrison does pretty well when she gets in the circle. We've had a couple others pop in there and show up and have held their own against the competition that we're playing right now. So that it's nice to have those options if somebody's just not having a good day or gets injured or whatever. It's nice to have those options available to them, and they are holding their own pretty well.
And Daryl,
That's
I
where
think
I was going to go with that.
yeah,
Yeah,
we got a little.
Exactly, because you need to have a strong pitching staff to get further into the conference schedule. So these, I'm not going to call them gimmies at the beginning of the season, but your lesser competitive opponents, which Central Michigan, not a great schedule to open the season. I think they only had one or two wins when we played them. I think just one actually. So not the toughest opponent, but they were able to score first and took the Cards a couple innings before they got the offense rolling. So, like you said, Paul, just one run out of those two games on a Friday is just probably a good showing for the pitching staff, and they'll have a good recap video. What's the video review when they go back and look at their work, and they'll be happy with Friday's performance.
And I think when you look at this squad, certainly uh, pitching wise, the ones that are coming back from last year, especially Alyssa Zabala, who
Mm-hmm.
was the ace of the staff last year, and is certainly off to a very good start this year. I think what is she 6-1 now on the season,
Mm-hmm.
and Sambu is impressing up there when she gets into the circle. Uh, I think that may be one of the strongest pitching staffs I've seen at Louisville since the days of Megan Hensley. Uh, Anybody want to debate that with me?
I might argue even stronger. You know, what we've seen, I think, over the past, really just the past few years, in softball in general, is the move from having a great pitcher, or maybe two, or sometimes three, to having more of a pitching staff, like has been the case in baseball for a long time. So I think you go back to Megan Hensley, and she was an amazing pitcher, and in that era, we had a series of several really great pitchers. We're also great on offense for bonus there. Uh, but we only had one or two at any one time there that were really pretty good. And right now we've got at least three that are quite quality pitchers, and if not four or five or more. So I think it's an interesting comparison going from one or two to having a staff. That I think if you state it as the strongest pitching staff, I think maybe ever in UofL softball.
As far as me, Paul, I'm gonna give Megan Hensley a little more credit, a little more on her side with that, because she was an offensive threat as well. She stands out as one of the best pitchers in recent history for the Cards, in my opinion. I don't think it's not a knock on Alyssa yet, but I don't see her being there yet. I'm not saying she might not at the end of her career, but I don't see that comparison just yet.
Yeah, Alyssa's not going to be an offensive threat. So she almost never bats. So I don't think she has any intention of doing that. Yeah, and like I said, Megan Hensley was an amazing pitcher great stuff back then. Not to take anything away from her as an
She
individual.
was a
I'm
game
more,
changer.
yeah, I'm thinking of it more as staff versus individual. Like Megan Hensley could have been the best pitcher ever, and I think you still say this is the best staff because of multiple people being involved. So that's the only difference I'm drawing there.
And I guess as in a counterpoint, may be an argument a little bit. I'll go back several years before that, back when we had, of course, the Marissa Becker on the staff,
Mhm.
That's who
and
I was thinking of. I
That's
was
I
trying
was
to
trying to
rack
go.
my brain.
I was pulling up the roster to try to find that
So
name.
was
I
I, but
couldn't get it out of the back
the
of my
other
head.
name that stood out to me, if you want to make comparisons to Megan Hensley, I'd put Taylor Roby in that conversation.
Yeah.
Taylor Roby had a very fine arm, I think, at times.
Yep.
And
Taylor,
bat.
yeah, Taylor tended to get maybe just a little bit shook in the circle,
Hey.
and unfortunately, it happens sometimes to even the best. But when Taylor was on, oh, look out!
Yeah.
She was sending a trail of batters back to the dugout after strikes. But Marissa Becker to me was just the powerhouse, I think. And then I think, if I remember correctly, guys, she was with Bellerman for a while. Am I not? Am I right there as an assistant coach?
Oh
Oh
gosh,
yeah,
Does
I'm
anybody
pulling up
remember
her
that? Or
I don't
her
recall.
stats now. Let's see if I find the word Bellerman. I'm not. Well, I guess Louisville wouldn't report on that, but um,
Yeah, but
she was just.
after her time here, I don't know
It
what
says
she
assistant
did.
coach. At Bellerman. So you're right,
Okay.
Paul.
okay,
Good, nice
I
memory.
I don't think she's still on the staff there, but I could be
Likely not.
wrong. But
And it doesn't have a year either, but they have an official her name, a title assistant coach. So
yeah,
I
so
vaguely remember that.
yeah, boy, when she was dominating on that mound out there, oof, it was just look out because and she had the facial expression where she would glare in at a batter,
Hmm.
and I would imagine some of them possibly even trembled in their cleats seeing this big imposing woman holding a ball in her hand and glaring at them like, "You better not try and hit this. You better not."
I'm staring at the picture they have on her player profile right now, and you're describing it perfectly.
Yeah, she just had that, and some people have said that that's really a part of pitching is the intimidation factor as well as the skill ability. Uh,
Absolutely. Even if you're not in the batter's box, you're intimidating that dugout.
yeah, and she certainly had those. So if you're listening, Marissa, I know you're not, probably not, but we wonder how you're doing, what you're up to these days, and how it's going for you. Yeah, indeed, we are. But so, hey, this is good. Today the Cards have got two again in their classic here. This is what like they call it the Cardinal Classic,
Mm.
where they will bring on Central Michigan again to open it up with. I think that's a. Am I correct in saying that's like
12:30,
a
I think.
12:30 start? Okay, good. That's what I thought. Uh, 8-1 win over them yesterday, so we're playing them again. And then Northwestern, a look at another school from the Big Ten. And if you kind of take a look at what we've been doing against the Big Ten so far this season, if you want to kind of take a look back at it real quick, we were able to defeat Wisconsin down in Tampa, 5-1, a nice win there for the Cards. And then, but then again, 2 days earlier, lost to Wisconsin, 1-4 in Tampa. So, uh, other schools, Boca Raton. Unfortunately, we played Purdue down there and lost to them, but also beat Minnesota twice. So, uh, kind of a mixed bag here, I think, with the Big Ten. But I don't know how strong really it is as a softball conference game. Uh, I think there are stronger. I think the ACC is stronger because there are some very, very good teams in the ACC.
Classically, the SEC is the softball powerhouse of the country, conference wise. But I haven't really been paying a whole lot of attention to them recently, so I don't know that I could say that that's still the case this year. But that's certainly traditionally been where, you get Florida, you get Arkansas, Kentucky's been pretty good in recent years. Georgia's been pretty good over the years. Got some pretty good SEC teams in there to bolster
You
that conference up.
you get the teams that play in the warmer part of the country at the earlier
Yeah,
part of the year.
that's certainly
Any
part of it.
correlation? I'm not sure, but likely.
And regions that just have a stronger softball tradition.
Mhm. Yeah, on
And
the
in
on the
and
like
in Texas this year too. Not bad.
Yeah, yeah, very strong team out in Texas as well. Uh,
as far as the Big Ten though, and Northwestern, I think they're a little down this year. I think they had a pretty good year last year. Just looking at the scout on them, they were 35-13 last year, and this year they're under 500 with a 6-8 record. So I don't think they're as strong as they have been in recent memory, because I think this is one of those trap games. But they did play them 2 years ago, and Northwestern beat U of L 11-1 at home. So in Louisville. So, it could be one of those that Northwestern puts a notch in their belt against us. I think it could go either way.
CMU yesterday started the game rather unauspiciously for the Cards by putting one out, a home run. Bye bye, see you, in the first inning, and that was a nice shot too. But after that, mm, they were drawing goose eggs, and unfortunately unable to add anything to that. Jeff, as you kind of watched this going on and what was happening with it, we seem to have a really solid infield this year.
Yeah, I've been pretty impressed with them. Not too many mistakes, either execution or thinking. You have those mistakes where you get bobbled the ball or something, and those happen. But more practice, you get more confidence in actions and movements, help with that, and we seem to be pretty solid in that space. But there's also that thinking game of, what do you do with the ball in a certain situation? Where do you throw it? Which base do you throw to, or whatever? And we're doing a lot of that really well, as well. So that's a nice benefit. That really you get this good pitching staff, and then you're backing it up with good defensive infield, to help cover any things that get through there. Obviously, we got a lot of speed, which helps cover ground and get the balls that are hit out into the infield, or beyond sometimes. So that helps. You see that you see the manifestation of the speed both on the defensive fielding and on base running, which is almost to the point of being comical in a wonderful way. But yeah, it's I've been pretty impressed with what I've seen. I haven't seen much of anything that I would look to and go, wow, that was really a mistake there. So that's pretty good.
And without any real power hitters, bona fide, she's a threat to go to the fence every time she steps to the plate on this lineup this year.
Yeah,
Uh,
not any that I can really think of. Okay, there's a couple that are capable of it. Obviously, we've seen a couple of home runs, but yeah, it's not a she's coming to the plate, she's a power hitter type of lineup at all.
Holly has built this squad to be built on speed, and I think what did I see eight stolen bases yesterday. I mean, it's just like, come on.
That's in
Uh,
one game, probably.
yeah, you know,
Like,
wow. Uh, so
it really is. I'm kind of laughing about it when I see it, because a player gets on base and Easton Lotus, Char Lorenz or Chris Chelsea Mack or whoever, right? Bree Despinese, they get on base. If it's a single, it's like, all right, well, go ahead and just put them on second, because they're going to be there in a minute anyway. It's like clockwork that they try to steal second, and almost universally do. I think I've only seen one get picked off this year.
and Daryl, we had a rather unique situation. Uh, sister act yesterday. How about that with the Lotus sisters facing off against each other?
I always love when that sort of thing comes to fruition, like we saw in except when they're on UNC's lacrosse team. Holy crap, they're dangerous. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's always fun for the players, and I think it's fun for their families to get to see them in action together, and just sometimes something that they people that have families that continue those traditions they dream of. Like we've seen in Super Bowls when players will play each other, or championships. It's a huge storyline. It's really fun to follow. I mean, it's one thing to get a D1 talented athlete, like one of them out of a family. If you get multiple, like those genes.
Yeah, we
Certainly.
actually see that quite a bit in volleyball. We had at least 2 this season that we had in volleyball happen that way. So yeah, it's always cool to see. Yeah.
Certainly. Don't know why we didn't go after Emma, but she seems to be a really good ball player up there for Eastern Michigan. Maybe hint, maybe a transfer to the Cards down the road. Hint,
Well,
possible.
we already had a leadoff hitter, so
Well, that's true too. But
yeah, they
Holly,
both were the
Holly, are
leadoff.
you listening?
They were both a leadoff hitter for their
That's right.
squad. So
Yesterday they were leadoffs.
yeah,
Uh, So 8-1 to win there. The Cards uh, decided to take a break and let Jeff strain his calf and then play the
yeah,
second game. And bringing in Longwood. And I'm not all that familiar with Longwood as a school, as a team, even as a location. So, which one of you two scribes here can fill me back in on the location of Longwood and where they're at? Because
I
I have
Farmville,
believe
no
it's
clue.
Michigan,
Virginia.
or Farmville, Virginia. Yeah, sorry, I said Michigan, meant Virginia.
Farmville, huh?
Farmville. I have no idea where that is. It's in
That's
Virginia, but
It
yeah,
is.
is
had this conversation with my mother yesterday. She was like, "Aren't they like a Long Island?" Nope. So
It's fun.
so do they have like a mayor McCow and the council's made up of chickens and
yeah,
no Farmville? I'm sorry.
all I can think of is that old Facebook Farmville game. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They probably named it after that game.
Eh,
the kindly old farmer on Main Street, saying, "Yeah, over here we got the hens, and then if you look over there, you'll see the pigs." And anyway, so yeah, Longwood came in. Unfortunately, were victims of the Cards jumping on them quite early. Uh, Not really from the uh, the first couple batters, but with 2 outs in the first inning,
yeah,
Louisville went to work.
yeah, yeah. You love to see a 2-out rally. You also love to see one that results in 4 runs in a single inning. So that's a lot of fun.
And so an 8-0 win there for Louisville as they definitely had the bats out early, and I think it was already 8-0 or it was 6-0 by the end of the third inning, right? And then they got their final 2 runs in the fourth inning.
Yes.
Uh, so
Yeah,
let's
and
hope
they
that
only, Louisville only batted 4 innings because I only went 4.5.
yeah,
So yeah,
They
as,
were ready to go. Had a nice Friday night, ready for the rest of the weekend.
yeah,
as the Cards chose to save the ace of the staff for the second game yesterday. Alyssa Zabala got in the circle, and I think she have a 3-hitter or something when and when she's on, look out because she'll and she's not. We were talking about Becker earlier, and her imposing kind of haughty look from the circle, where it's kind of like you're
yeah.
not even going to try and hit this, are you?
Zabala is
Alyssa is
like the diametric opposite of that.
complete. She's always got this big smile on her face, like
Yeah,
everything's fine. And this is a woman who came to us from Miami, Florida. So
yeah,
she can't be real happy with some of the weather that we
yeah.
have up here in the
No doubt.
early games. She's got to be thinking, I could have gone to University of Miami. I could have gone to FAU. It would have been warm. Nah, nah, nah. But no, she's not like that at all. Uh, so certainly a good deal there for them. Jared was out there and gave us some nice post-game interviews with Ava Venturelli and also with Charles Lorenz. And you can catch those on the website as he was
Yep,
able to get about 2 minutes with each one of them.
yep.
And
And I did get them linked into the article today. I forgot to do that initially, so they are at it.
was able to talk with them a little bit about their games. Two very, very intelligent women too, who who don't have any of the interview jitters that we've seen maybe in past years with players, and they certainly handled themselves quite well. But then Jared lobs himself balls too. He doesn't ask very tough questions indeed. So
Well, it's not like we're out there doing investigative journalism. So
exactly, this is a pleasurable thing.
yeah,
Uh, I have learned, and over the year, wasn't able to get out yesterday. I would have loved to, but unfortunately couldn't make it. Uh, I've learned in previous years and past seasons that you never interview Holly after a loss, and so
I think that's true just about most coaches.
well, there's some that will get up there and encompass the loss and then use it as a teaching point. And
Sure.
there's two coaches that I can really point out to that do that quite well.
Jeff Walls does. So,
Jeff Wallace is the first, absolutely,
yeah.
and the other is Justine Sowery.
Yeah.
Justine will show up just as quickly to interview you after a win or after a loss.
Yeah.
And
you can tell she's not happy, but she's not happy about losing the game. She's not happy about doing the interview. Yeah. So.
But yeah, she'll do the interview and she'll basically, kind of analyze right there on the spot before even talking with her staff or anything what they did wrong.
Yeah.
And certainly there are some coaches that we've learned over the years to kind of not encounter after a loss. I think Karen Ferguson days is another where you just don't you just kind of let coach go back and talk to the team.
Yeah.
But good wins. We'll now move a little bit further down campus, and
have to.
Yeah, unfortunately, there were
Make it brief.
There were other activities on campus over at the Louisville Lacrosse Stadium where the Cards brought in number 2 in the nation, North Carolina. And I like the term, but they came in like a wrecking ball, and we were the building that was to be demolished.
Yeah.
Say,
we were the obstacle for sure.
They were scoring plentiful. They were scoring in bunches. This one was 20-4 in favor of the Tar Heels, and this is a team that had some early season success, looked pretty good at times, and opponents, but certainly against a very, very powerful, strong squad that they had over there in the Tar Heel contingent. And if you take a look at the box score, I think they played everybody in the university. I mean, their box score's got 30 players listed as seeing action.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I mean, like you can't complain that they were running up the score, right? They're throwing everybody in there. It's they're just a really, really good team. And we're just not at that level, at this point. I think, you were talking about saying, thinking at the beginning of the season, we've seen progress. I think we have seen progress in this lacrosse team. I think they are improved over previous years. But yeah, there's still some improvement to be found in there, and before we get to a level of a top 10 team. So it's just that's what we faced. So there's a reason they're number 2.
Yeah, and typically like number 1, they're just notoriously good and have been for quite some time. And I feel like if North Carolina could have left their sister duo at home, and they probably still would have won. So just the level of talent and success that North Carolina's had for quite some time just is where Louisville wants to be at some point. And I'm not sure anybody really thought there was a chance that this team could welcome UNC into town and knock them off. But like you said, it's just another level of talent on this team, and we're just lucky nobody got hurt as far as I can tell.
Absolutely, as the Cards trailed this one 10-1 at halftime, and then ended up being down 16-2 after three, but then actually rallying for two goals in the fourth quarter. But still, Gmina had scored 4-2, and hence the 20-4 loss for them. And Scott Teeter did talk a little bit about this afterward, and obviously didn't have any players with him during his post game interview, and we unfortunately didn't have anybody there to ask the questions either. It had to come pretty much from the SID for that sport in Lori Cordy, who is new to lacrosse this year. Uh, and she kept it very, very vanilla for him, and he was very matter of fact about it. He didn't, go on a tirade or a rant or anything like that. I think he realized that he was kind of the sacrificial lamb for the Slaughter here gang, and just kind of accepted it and said, "Okay, let's regroup, let's get it back together, then let's go down to Vandy and take them on." Uh, Vanderbilt. I don't know a lot about Vanderbilt, but when you look at this lacrosse team this year, we have, I think we have an adequate goalkeeper, and that's certainly a very important part of lacrosse.
They only played half the game yesterday, so I don't know if they were just looking for. If Peter was just looking to try to make some changes to try to find some success somewhere, but Pleck only played I think first half. So
I think when you get into a situation like that too, gang, and maybe you can kind of expand on this, Daryl. When you're that down that much, that early, it's time for you to take another player who may not be seeing as much playing time or much starting time and put them in and see how they handle the circumstances.
Exactly. And sometimes when you put that next player in, they could be pretending it's 0-0. It's a new ball game for them. So you give them the reps, and when you're down. So I mean, as far as a goalkeeper as well, like, they can't do anything about changing the score. They don't try to stop the bleeding. But like I said, too powerful of a team, and we're just lucky that nobody walked away with injuries.
Yeah, that's the key right there. Nobody got hurt in the loss. But the Cards will be in Vanderbilt on Wednesday. This one's going to be on ESPN Plus, and I just kind of really wish that Louisville wouldn't use that venue for athletics anymore. I know, okay, it's fine. Certainly, people want to watch. People want to see what's going on.
This is in Nashville, and it is Vanderbilt doing it, not Louisville.
Yeah, but it's an it's an SEC school.
Yeah,
And
you'd
you got
think
to
they'd
wonder.
be on SEC Network Plus, but
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
But
I don't know. I don't know what their policies are. I mean, we have ACC schools that don't put some of their stuff on ACC Network Extra, even when it's perfectly available to them. So I don't know.
yeah, it's certainly a situation where you don't really know what's going to go on, or what kind of broadcasting crew you're going to get. So
Yeah.
we hope that I don't even know if I've still got an active ESPN Plus uh, subscription or not. I'll have to go research that and find out. I seem to remember it was fairly expensive, but we'll see. Anyway, wish them the best of luck down there. As they go south, let's hope that the weather's just as good down there as it is here for that game. Uh, so moving on over to hoops, where the Cards most recently were entertaining a very, very, I think, a very determined Clemson team who, and Daryl, you were down there with me on press row. In that first half, they showed no signs of wanting to step aside and let Louisville take this thing over.
Well, it looked like that Clemson, Florida State, and Duke all got together and had a little conversation about how they were going to upset the top half of the double bye potential receivers. But luckily, Cards were able to get their win. Can't say the same about the other two, but they certainly made it a game at halftime. Don't know how they were able to steal that lead. It was a 1 point lead at half, and then somehow it turned into a 26-point win in the second half. So we giggled a little bit about Coach Wall's halftime speech. I'm sure that was very pleasant. I would love to hear a soundbite from that.
Yeah, we got a nice four-way tie for third in the ACC. That's a lot of fun. But
No pressure.
yeah, and Louisville's got one more game, right, against
Yeah.
Notre Dame. Like that's a tall order. So
Speaking of
you
that, did you
know,
all notice that Notre Dame did their senior night on Thursday? Even
yeah, I saw you mention that.
that
Yeah,
was strange to me.
yeah,
Yeah, it makes you wonder why.
yeah.
Definitely makes me wonder why. But whatever, not important.
Certainly a tale of two halves for the Cards there, and also a tale of two halves for Taj Roberts, who
Yeah.
basically
Yes.
had not entered the building yet, not put on her uniform in the first half. There was missing alerts. No, she just did not have one of the best first halves out there, but in the second half had 18 of her 19 points, and certainly her and I think Jada Curry too were kind of a
Yeah.
key about taking this team by the bootstrap and saying, "All right, let's play ball now. What do you think?"
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, Taj Roberts didn't score a lot in the first half, but she did contribute in some other ways. I think I heard Walt say she had like 4 assists in the first half, some things like that. She was out there and she was a presence, but yeah, she wasn't scoring like we're used to and kind of are starting to come to need her to do so.
I think most of it came in the fourth quarter. My jaw was on the desk for a little bit of it. I mean, Coach Walls says it all the time. If somebody's hot, they're going to keep feeding her, and they kept
Yeah.
feeding her every time they were down at
Yeah.
that end of the floor in that fourth quarter, and it was going in.
And also, coming off the bench and really kind of uh, pleasantly surprising me, Daryl, and maybe you all as well, was Arenas came in and put up 14 points.
Yeah.
Oh,
She had a
that
big
was
one.
a sneaky 14, very sneaky.
And yeah, I think she's kind of looking at, you know, not so much this year, but maybe next year as being more of a viable role for the Cards.
Mhm.
Uh, she knows, and I think she realizes that she's kind of got to pay her dues here a little bit, and but certainly, you have to wonder, obviously, about where she'll be able to fit into the scheme of things. But this season, I think Jeff Walls has now got in his mind, hey, if I need somebody to come in and give this team a spark off the bench, I got a potential right here in Arenas. And certainly that's what she was able to do. But Daryl, okay, let's take a look at this team so far. We got one to go up in Notre Dame. Uh, what we say we're in a death match here to see if we can get the double bye. And when you look at this team, Daryl, if you had to pick a most outstanding player right now, where would you go?
For the Cards, it's Jada Curry. Like I'm just I'm zoning in on her because I totally forgot she hadn't really started the season, but for what, like 6 weeks after it started. Like, did she start in December, or did she start this year? I can't remember,
Yeah,
but
I think she had some ankle problems. I think that kept her from getting
yeah,
out there early.
she definitely didn't start the season, which is where the Cards had a lot of heavy, a very heavy front end of their schedule to start a season with UCLA in Paris, and then that North Carolina State game. I don't think she was back for that yet either. Jada Curry has made it known that she is leading this team. I keep my eyes on her when she's out on the court. She is quarterbacking out there, and she's vocal, and she knows what she wants, and she will drive to the basket if we need it. She'll pull up for a three if we need it. She'll get her teammates the ball if that's what the situation calls for. I just think Jada Curry is the difference maker, and I mean the team's at a 20-8 record, right now, which is a very successful season by a lot of standards. I know Louisville fans are spoiled and with those,
Yeah.
3 to 5 loss seasons, but they definitely have lost a few that they could have won. But they've shown their own, or they've held their own against some really good teams like UCLA, like Kentucky, and whatnot. There's some bad losses. We don't have to talk about those, but I think, they got one more game left on the regular season. It's at Notre Dame, and Notre Dame's coming off a loss. I'm a little scared. I know Notre Dame doesn't like UofL. I know it's a rivalry. I just hope we get a good game tomorrow. I'd like to see the production continue. I feel like Marissa Russell had a great night on Thursday, but the stats sheet didn't show too much production. But she was out there getting the ball to her teammates and making sure she pulls down rebounds. It's just a team effort, and this team is really starting to come together. It was really sad seeing Olivia with the tears in her eyes the other day, her last home game. Last time hearing her name over the PA. She's very important for this program, and I hope she knows it. And just ready to hopefully get one more win on the season. But I don't know, guys. It's a real tall order.
Yeah. Some comments real quick on some of that. Jada Curry has played in 24 of the 28 games this year, so she
Oh,
has
wow.
played in most of them. She only started 16 of them, so she definitely had a diminished role early on. She has a lot less minutes played compared to like Taj Roberts. Taj Roberts actually is outscoring her slightly, 13.4 points per game versus 13.1 for Curry. So, but that's pretty close. And I think Curry does a lot of other things on the court that are supportive. It's just more assists, for example. But um, yeah, I'm trying to look at some of the other stats. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at the game she came back was Morehead State back in
Yeah.
November. She had 19 minutes. She went 4 for 6 for 11 points, 3 assists, and then a couple of rebounds. So
Yeah, she just has more leadership out on the court too, I think, than compared to true freshmen like Taj Roberts. So, which is to be expected. Roberts will develop that over time, I suspect. So
that's what you want out of your guards, because I
yeah,
think a lot of leadership fell onto Olivia and Marissa, and they're just, I don't know, it just wasn't. I don't think for those two that was the role. It's hard to be in the paint and try to coordinate the rest of the team. So I think it was Jada's role to ease into, and she's done an incredible job.
I think when you take a look at Curry, obviously she was a transfer in to the program, spending her first 2 years in the all but defunct Pac-12 now, where she played at California for a couple years out there, and just some coming in here highly lauded for some of the things she did. I mean, here's just a synopsis of her 2 years out there. She was all Pac-12 honorable mention her final year. She was Pac-12 all conference. Uh, she was also Pac-12 freshman of the year her freshman year. Think of that, freshman of the year.
Wow.
Uh, Pac-12 obviously all conference her freshman year as well. She was on the all freshman team obviously, and was certainly a ball player that you kind of got to scratch your head and wonder, okay, she's coming to Louisville. Why? What have we done to be able to get this girl to come to play at Louisville when she was doing quite well out at Cal her first 2 years?
man, I wish I had the answer.
Yeah, and
I was gonna say, what did we do to deserve Jada?
I mean, maybe Jeff Walls and Steph Norman and some of the other folks on the staff have a better answer for that, and because I think it has implications for recruiting in general, not just in transfers. So hopefully they've got a better answer than what I do, but I certainly don't have a great one from the outside. Certainly, I think you can look at the disintegration of the Pac-12 as a factor. I can't imagine that wasn't an aspect of that, but it's with why Louisville, why got a perennially quality team, frequently in the hunt for Final Four appearances. I don't know. Those are certainly attractive things, but how what specifically was on her mind, I don't know. We'll never know probably. So
Yeah, it would be a fun question to ask her maybe postseason and then just find out, you know, obviously what brought you here.
yeah,
Also, I think another thing, a player that we need to look at maybe briefly here, who has come in here and done a incredible job for the Cards on both ends of the court, is Jalea Williams. Uh, we were familiar with her. She was down at Miami doing great things, and now she's here in a Cardinal uniform. And I love to watch her energy on the court because she is maybe one of our best defensive stoppers, if not our best, and can score when needed.
She's fast.
yeah. Too tall to be an attack Yorkie, but yeah, she certainly has the mindset.
Yeah, just barely, but yeah, uh, she's a
Correct.
certainly that kind of inspired ball player that Jeff Walls had gone up against for
Yeah,
several years and said, you know, if you can't beat them, join them. Jada, come here, Julia.
yeah,
Put on this red jersey. I think you're going to like it. Uh, but Clemson, obviously, when you think of Clemson, one of the first things that comes to mind for me, beside our old friend Arthur, who unfortunately is not doing well, and uh, sadness there, but he was such a big
yeah.
Clemson supporter for years, and used to love the team, and used to talk in glowing terms about Amanda Butler becoming in as the head coach. But hey, guess what?
That's
She's on our
Howard.
bench now.
Yeah,
I'm sure it
Uh,
was kind of weird for her to see that, but
yeah,
Clemson's coach now is very animated. Thought his team could come in here and pull out a win, and
yeah.
he was getting them there in the first half. But Walls is just the mastermind and turned it around.
Yeah, and credit to this coaching staff. I mean, Clemson's at 6-11. They're no powerhouse here, but that is an improvement for them, I believe, over previous seasons. So like I always say, as long as you're improving, you're moving in the right direction. And okay, keep doing what you're doing and keep improving. When you stop improving, then let's talk about it. But it's a step forward. It's hopefully it's the beginning of better things for that program.
yeah, you've got to kind of wonder about it when they brought in Sean Poppy, and who is the new head coach at Clemson.
That's that. Okay.
Uh, a younger guy. What is he? 39, I think. 40 years old.
Yeah, I wear
Not.
sports cuts with a t-shirt.
Yeah. You got to
It's
wonder
fun.
about that, but he's was obviously his first year at Clemson. He was previously down at UTC, the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, the Mocs,
Knox. Yeah.
so to speak. A young man who basically did quite well down there with them. Uh, came into Clemson with I think an attitude and uh, where, hey, we're both kind of new to each other players. Let's get to know each other. Let's see how we can grow. Let's see how we can play. When he was down with the Mocs, he was the 23-24 Southern Conference Coach of the Year. And certainly you would think he would have been able to write his own ticket down there. But it makes me wonder, was the lure of leaving a mid-major conference like the Southern and go to the ACC and see what you could do there, uh, what brought him in? Thoughts on that, gang?
I it makes sense to me. I'm sure there was some pay differences as well, but I mean it's not a bad gig. And you see, Clemson on the national stage and other programs, and then Clemson wants to get back in that situation on the women's side. So I think, like I said, he was very animated, stomping and vocal, and sometimes a little annoying because he would go out to the middle of the court and like berate the refs a little bit, but not saying they didn't deserve it sometimes. It was a rough night out there on Thursday, but just I'm sure it was a little weird seeing Amanda, her former squad out there and not being able to yell at them to come over and uh, huddle and try to rally. But I know Coach Wells is probably thrilled to have her on his side now.
Certainly a very, very good, not second in command, but certainly a very, very good addition to the Cards. And another thing about Poppy that may be part of it too, he was an assistant coach at Virginia Tech at one time. And gee, guess who that was down there?
Kenny
Head
Brooks.
coach was our old buddy Kenny Brooks. So possibly he got his feet wet in the ACC as an assistant, left it for a while, and then decided, hey, you know what? I really like that conference, and I could be back over there and be a head coach. So a good win for the Cards. I think one that the Louisville will. Uh, it's got to help with the tournament committee when it comes to the NCAA to see that they're winning. I think what are we now? 5 out of our last 6 games we've played, we've had victories, and I think I'm right on that. But I'm going to go back and take a look real quick at it. We well, no, that can't be right. I'm sorry, I'm thinking of something else. But uh, okay, so it comes down to Notre Dame. Uh, and obviously, we know the factors that are there. They've got Hidalgo, one of the better players in, I think, college basketball right now. An incredible, and just a sophomore. Uh, and Daryl and Jeff, what are some of the other factors that the Irish are going to throw at us? They've got a wealth of talent on that team, Westbeld and some of the others.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's interesting you went for Hidalgo before you went to Miles, which I think is the face that most people think of when they think of Notre Dame basketball, Olivia Miles. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Olivia Miles, Hannah Hidalgo, Sonia Citron is also quite good up there. Leatu King does quite well. Maddie Westbeld
Maddie
is
Westbrook.
a solid presence. Yeah, there's a lot of talent, there's a lot of capability, and it shows in their results.
Yeah, I think of Sonia Citron every single time because I feel like people will prepare for, HH and Olivia Miles, and then, you got Sonia going off, and she wasn't. And then I think when the Cards faced Notre Dame earlier in this season, I think that Wall's game plan was also Citron, like focus heavily on her, just frustrate Mile or Hannah Hidalgo. She gets very visually frustrated. You guys, she the other night she was taunting, she was yelling at refs and getting very frustrated on the bench. Dropping f bombs. You could see it. They were showing her a lot, and so if you get in her head, you might be able to, get her to struggle a little bit. But I don't. You cannot ignore Sonia Citron.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
think
would agree. I would say also Olivia Miles is very similar in that respect. You get her flustered, she can fall apart. The trick is she's really hard to fluster because she is so very good at playing the game of basketball.
And
yeah,
I think you
she
got to get Maddie Westfeld in foul trouble early. Like
Yeah,
that's a successful game plan. Throw Hannah and Olivia off with their getting frustrated. Focus on defending Sonia, and then get Maddie in foul trouble. I think it's a good game plan.
the Irish are 15-2 in the ACC, 24-4 overall. Uh, they play very well at home and on the road. 7-1 at home, and also 8-1 when they're on the road. Right now, currently in a tie with North Carolina State for the conference lead. Both schools at 15-2. And then, as we talked about a little earlier, a four-way, you know, interstate jam up for third place here with 4 teams: us, uh, North Carolina, obviously Florida State, and Duke. Uh, it makes for a very interesting last game of the year, doesn't it? Now,
Very. You know how
yeah,
many options are going to be on that game? Uh,
Yeah, and
Stick
I would
to
have to
what?
go through all of the permutations of wins and losses and who's playing who to figure out, what needs to happen for us to be able to get that double bye. I'm not sure it's possible even at this point, but um,
it's it's just in the cards are in charge of their own destiny. We've talked about it a few times this year. A double bye would be great. I think a single bye would be realistic. So
yeah,
if they drop to that single bye, I think they'll still be able to win a game or two. But obviously, you want to get that double and have some more gas in the tank.
yeah, playing on the first day of the ACC tournament pretty much dooms you to not winning it. I don't know how long have they ever had a ACC tournament champion out of that played the first day? Seems unlikely.
Wow, I
But
don't
I think it's
remember. Yeah.
possible to do it coming when you start playing on the second day. But obviously most of the champions are coming from those double bye positions. And, it's because those are your top four teams first of all, but also one less game, one less fatigue. So
So we're looking at the schools that are currently in that traffic jam for third place. North Carolina, they end up their season playing Virginia in Chapel Hill.
okay.
Uh, Boy, that sure looks like a W on their side of it.
Yeah, that's probably a win. Yeah.
I'm thinking so. Of course, we've got two of the schools going up against each other on that final day that are tied with us in there, and of course Florida
Oh,
State and
Duke and
Duke.
Florida State. Nice. Okay. Well,
So one of them's got to lose. There's no doubt about it. The other one's going to win, though. Uh, that would, I think,
I think
make
eliminates
it
us. Yeah.
very tough for us to,
Get that double bye.
unless we get an upset in there somewhere. If I think that the thing that we've got to hope for, and it probably is not going to happen because they're very, very vested in wanting to maintain first spot, is Notre Dame somehow falling in their final game of the year to Virginia. But I just, yeah, I just don't see it happening, gang. Uh, we can hope for it, but we'll see what happens.
Yep.
This one, what did I see? Time frame on this one? Uh,
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock game. That's what I'm.
ESPN 2, I believe.
Yeah, we got an ESPN bid, huh? I did not know that, so that's good. So we'll watch with interest to see, obviously, how we do up there and in the Purcell Pavilion and the Joyce Center with 12,000 screaming Irish fans. Let's just hope that we can maintain our poise and come out and shoot the ball like we've been shooting lately. I mean,
Mhm.
you got to score the most points to win. But interesting that you'd mentioned too, and before we get out of here, Daryl, that their senior night was actually Thursday night. What do you think the deal was behind that?
I think emotions. I think, like I said, this is a rivalry between the two programs, and they probably just wanted to get it out of the way. And also, like a Sunday, 2 o'clock in the afternoon is probably going to be less attendance wise than maybe a game during the week, which sounds weird saying it out loud because it is 2 o'clock. And if it's a rivalry game, you'd think there'd be a lot of people there. So I'm not sure. Maybe emotions, because senior night's an emotional thing, and that's something I thought maybe what made the Cards struggle a little bit in the first half is they had real tears at the start of that game. Like I said, hearing your name for the last time over the PA is probably tough, and you got to tip off a ball right after that and chase it down the court. I don't know, just probably a few factors, and I think mostly just wanting to focus on the Notre Dame Louisville rivalry instead of making it a senior night thing.
And just real quickly, Jeff, I was looking here though, and our article at Go Cards indicates that this is a noon tip-off, and it's going to be on ESPN.
It
Yeah.
could be. I could be like I
Yeah. Notre Dame has it
podcast
listed
last
as
week. I'm not
noon.
sure.
Yep. And on ESPN at noon. So I think
At
that's
noon.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah, a little early to get. Who wants to do senior festivities at like 11:30 on a Sunday?
That's true. Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah.
yeah, we're just getting out of bed and having breakfast by then. so, but so anyway, let's hope for the best up there. And kind of just taking a look at it, we've already hit the noon hour. This certainly has been a very, very exciting and fun show today. We have had some great discussions here on the three sports that are kind of key for us right now. Let's go ahead and move on into our final thoughts. And Jeff, what do you got for us on final thoughts?
Cards in the pros. The Anna DeBeer started Thursday night against Vegas, played against Charity Leaper. The Ignite did come out with a win in that one, but great to see Anna finally, if not fully recovered, pretty close from her injury that she suffered in the national semifinals. So she had a pretty decent game, a few little early stumbles, but put together a pretty decent game. Elena Scott did still come out in a Libro jersey, so I think that jersey is hers for the long term at this point. So good news and good stuff for Cards in the pros. It was good to see Charity Leaper play too.
Indeed, certainly. Cards in the pros. I love it. Daryl, what you got for me?
My final thought is that I think I found out that Jada Curry's family might read Cardinal Couple. And the reason I say that is because for the senior night festivities, they had a few promo materials that would show throughout the game on the video board, and they use one phrase we use pretty often, you guys, and it's the joy and excitement. And I was waiting for them to say of UofL women's sports, but I was actually taking a video. I will try to play this just so you can have the sound bite, and hopefully it sounds good. Okay, ready and play.
Cannot hear anything, unfortunately.
It's starting and stopping. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's because I wanted to play something. It's
Of course.
because I was put on the spot, and it doesn't want to do it. So
The demons of demo.
But she did say in the video, she said it's a thrill seeing the joy and excitement and yada yada yada. Final thought.
Oh well, yeah, it is joy and excitement, and that's why we do what we do here. For me, on final thoughts, just a kind of a slight derivation from what we've been talking about. Women's golf, of course, is active and down in Florida right now, down at the Moon Invitational. No, the Cards are not playing on the moon. They are down at the Sun Tree Golf Course down in Melbourne, Florida. And yes, don't we wish we were down there with them too, enjoying that weather. But Cards closed out their first tournament of the spring in 11th place. A golf squad this year that has quite a few new faces on it, quite honestly. Carmen Griffiths is back, but some new golfers, a couple of freshmen in there that have made the starting role for Louisville out there. In fact, I think when I'm looking here, only Griffiths and Bedencourt are the two of the returnees that are doing much. Everybody else is pretty much new. So we're still trying to see when we can get Daryl down there for an interview with Coach and possibly even some golf lessons. So we'll try to get that arranged later on in the season.
Lord knows I need them.
And well, they do have an indoor putting green, Daryl. So yeah, good luck there. If you go to do an interview with her, take your putter. Just say, hey, while I'm here, do you mind? But we want to thank everybody for putting up with us today and enjoying our broadcast. And love having you on board. Look forward to us. Read our articles daily. Help us spread the joy and excitement as Jada Curry's parents do. And until then, everybody have a great week and go Cards.